Yeah, it is the high aspiration of the people from 92. You know, I think after several many years of military rule, you know, and then this crowd is almost similar to what we saw in 1992. You know, the people had very high hopes, and they believe that a democratic system will bring, you know, a fast transformation in their lives, create better lives for them, create better environment for them. You know, so they are remembering, you know, the past, and they see in former President Mahama the leader who will fulfill this aspiration again, as Kwame Nkrumah, you know, started, because we, you know, the Western region is linked to Nkrumah's vision, and former President Mahama also seemed to have the same vision. He's a visionary man like what Kwame Nkrumah did. Kwame Nkrumah believed, you know, during Kwame Nkrumah's time, we had even the Ministry of Rural Development. And, you know, it meant that he invested a lot in the cocoa sector, and then he invested a lot in agriculture. So in this area, my sister Joy says, you know, that women are the pivot of every economic growth. If you want your economy to grow, invest in women. And the women here are expecting that with the big push, you know, with our decentralization policy, more money will come into the communities. You set up clinics. You know, if you take the cocoa sector, I mean, during Kwame Nkrumah's time, we had cocoa clinics in various cocoa communities. Schools in various cocoa communities, and I think under the big push, President Mahama is going to invest in social housing, and then I think that a lot of this, you know, if we have to follow our decentralization policies, we will bring a lot of transformation in the, you know, rural areas, and, you know, improve markets, improve access to credit. Because we need to empower women. We need to give them, you know, financial inputs into whatever work that they are doing. And this, I think that our women, you saw in the crowd, they could see that they will have, you know, access to free primary health care. And when you talk about free primary health care, it's not only about malaria and headache. It's about a woman's health. It's about maternal health, childbearing. You know, so in a community, if you have small polyclinic to serve maybe about 10 communities, women will have better access to maternal care. You know, so at least we can reduce, you know, maternal mortality and child mortality. You know, so this is very, very important, you know, under the, you know, free health care. And I think that with that one, we will also be able to, you know, bring education, transformation. Education is all about transformation in a person's life. So this will also be released into the communities, and we can see development changes in the communities. And I think that is what the women are expecting, that the new NDC administration will bring into their lives.
Joyce, I know you have a lot of conversation with your peers. Yesterday, in fact, I was surprised at the mood among the people at Elubu. They were excited to see the former president, and the shops were just there. Yeah. And the complaint is that people are not buying. Yeah. And some of them even talked about their locked-up capital. For you, is this reflective of a general trend across the country, or perhaps it's just because of the closure of the border?
Well, thank you, Eric. I'm sure you do know that there have been these border closures for quite some time, at least since the inception of COVID-19. Unfortunate as the pandemic has been, its ramifications are likewise dire. And as we are also saying, those who suffer the most are women folk. In a war, in a pandemic, in any outbreak of this kind, mostly women suffer a lot more. They suffer because their children suffer, and in this case their children are both male and female. So certainly there's been a deep distortion in businesses, and till date leave enormous room for question, because you ask why. Remember that these are people who actually crisscross. We have people coming from the borders to visit, not just even to trade only, for jobs, for employment. When they cross over to those other sides too, they find similar opportunities. These are all things that empower women and business people in our country. In fact, one of the key reasons why the Africa Free Continental Trade Agreement has become so topical has been that we want single borders. We want open borders. We no longer want to have to check for passports, for ID cards before we go in and around trading in Africa. This is a very important continental business zone. Border closures that have taken place for nearly a year will have very deep economic ramifications on the persons who immediately live within the area. But then, of course, it also has a fallback position on other facets of the economy. You heard them speaking about hardship generally, about cost of goods, because they can no longer go in as they please to take up these goods when they need them. Remember that this also has an impact on our port activities, because the ports here in Takoradi also serve some parts of Togo, some parts of absolutely from largely the landlocked areas. So certainly Burkina Faso and all of these things, there's been very brisk business activities between our countries, whether even before the Africa Free Trade Continental Agreement came into force. So certainly there's been some negative impact, coupled with the ramifications of COVID-19, making it very difficult for trading and business activities.
This controversy, many people are wondering whether the continuing closure of the border is based on science, or perhaps there are other motives, because people are saying that if the border has been opened for people arriving from countries which are recording even worse cases of COVID-19 to come in, then why would the borders be closed at maybe the Burkina Faso area, the Togo area, and then the Elubo area, which actually affect millions who depend on the movement of people around these areas for survival?
Well, Eric, I'm sure you know very well that we have the air borders, we have land borders, we have the sea borders. So yes, cargo is coming in. We don't have a lot of traffic in terms of passengers who come by sea, but certainly for the upstream oil industry, it is important that our ports stay open. For the fact that we are almost very highly import dependent, it is important that our seaports remain open, and they indeed have remained open. The airports have recently opened for business, and yes, we still have countries that do not even allow Ghanaians to fly into their countries because they do not think that we are actually testing enough or adequately. But certainly the airports are open. So why are the borders landward remain closed? And specifically, we also know, and I do not want to belabor the point, that most often than not, a lot of activities also take place. Remember that there are persons, citizens, well qualified and registered to vote, who live on the other sides of these borders too. Take the Volta region, for example. Take Elubo, for example. Take the Western region, for example. So you ask yourself, can there also be other motives other than just COVID, especially regarding the fact that other facilities of travel remain open or have been open since? Why not the land borders? This is affecting livelihoods. It's affecting family relationships. We have persons who have children in and across the borders and in Ghana. People who are married to partners who live on the other side. So it is actually also disrupting the main unit of our lives, which is the family unit. And as I said earlier, when all of these things happen, it is the women who suffer the most. But certainly the Western region is home to most of our oil installations. And yes, the Takoradi port itself is a commitment of Professor Mills and John Dramani Mahama's vision for the oil industry. Secondly, we also know that the Tema port was likewise expanded to meet this growing nascent oil industry. And remember that Tema and Takoradi also feed into each other. These are all ways to create jobs and improve upon the livelihoods of the good people of Ghana. But you know, Eric, when we look at these other facilities, we think about the railway infrastructure. The manifesto promises to extend it beyond Sekondi Takoradi, to ensure that the Eastern Corridor Road is completed and will open up Ghana for even more transport and trade. President Mahama also promises to dualize all of the main roads connecting each of our 16 regional capitals. I think this will largely be part of the 10 billion Big Push agenda. Imagine the jobs across the country in the value chain. Note that when you carry cargo and goods even by rail, one, you preserve them better. Take, for example, the fisheries. Take the cement industry. Take, for example, the food industry. Take the manufacturing services. You can transport goods and people in real time only via a good railway infrastructure.
So we'll be taking a short break because I noticed that you want to pass a brief comment. For you, if you can do that maybe under a minute. Some say, and that is the impression I get, that the decision to close the borders affected Ghana Airports Company because they depended heavily on the movement in and out of the country. But there are equally thousands of people whose economy have been shattered because of the continued closure of the border. And some say it is the decision today not to open it is a reflection of the insensitive nature of government towards the plight of those who are still sweating. Do you share that opinion?
Oh yes, I do. I think that I mean the motives are quite clear. You know, we saw it during the registration exercise, especially at Elubu, where you know military men were stationed at Elubu to stop people from coming to register. And then also in Togo, where several battalions were stationed there. So you can see that the motive is purely political.
Regardless of the thousands who cannot feed their family.
The general secretary of our party,
yes,
literally had to usher in Ghanaian citizens who were being prevented from coming to the because they were coming largely from the border towns.
You know, if you know the history of the MPP, you know, their philosophy has not changed. UP, United Party, Domo, the man who started it, they became PP, and now they just changed their clothing to look nice. But their philosophy had been Machiavellian, and they are just they believe very, you know, in a closed, you know, conservative political structure. They close the border because they feel that you know, Ghanaians in Ivory Coast will be coming to register, and when they come, they are going to vote for NDC. But you know, do you know the people who are coming? We have signed, as Joy said, we've signed all the ECOWAS Treaty of free movement, and even now, the president is chairman of ECOWAS, and you know, free movement, you know. Free trade is one of the core principles of the ECOWAS.
But he's looking at COVID.
What COVID? They're even in, you know, what has he done in Ghana for COVID? I mean, the airport, they have this so-called, you know, foreign company that charges you $150.
Yes.
And Ghanaians are complaining. He's not listening. They can put, you know, the Ministry of Health officials, you know, at the border, and then when you come, you know, they can check, they can do the primary check, your temperature, and make sure that you go through. They can take your name, where you are going, so that they can do the contact tracings. You know, so the closure of the border has nothing to do with COVID. It's purely political. You know, and Ghanaians, you know, now believe it. So we are saying that they have to, if he is now the chairman of ECOWAS, and we have signed all the treaties of ECOWAS, we believe in free movements, you know, of people across our borders, free trade. Then if he has opened Kotoka, he should open Elubu and Lobwe, and stop harassing, you know, Ghanaians at the border.
But you know, the Volta region in particular, citizens are living in continued fear and panic.
Yes, I mean, we are in Ghana. Yes. You know, we must, the Constitution guarantees us freedom of movement, freedom of association, and to live in peace and harmony. And then every time you send military personnel to intimidate, harass Ghanaians.
I will let you hold it here. We're taking a short break. When we come back, we'll look at other very pertinent issues regarding what the former President John Dramani Mahama has been telling the people in the Western region as he prepares to wrap up his tour tomorrow.
Every human body mass should have at least 60% water for optimal performance in any physical or mental exercise. We can help you maintain it naturally. X Natural Mineral Water. Simply natural.
So you are welcome back. This is the morning update from the Western Regional Capital, Takoradi, and we are at Hillcrest Hotel. I told you earlier it's one of the best hotels in Takoradi, and you can see behind my guests that they have a swimming pool facility, conference room. They have flats here. If you want to spend the weekend with your family, you can always come around. The environment is very serene. And this is the morning update. You will join us later on this program by sending your text on WhatsApp 020-866-7000. Sherry Aite is a former minister who was in charge of the fisheries sector. Joyce Bawa Muktari speaks for former President John Mahama. Yesterday, he was at Agona Nkwanta, and as usual, as you have seen since he began his tour around the country, the response was very massive. The traditional authority who is in charge of this cove, I'm sure I'll remember the name to share with you later on this program, spoke passionately. Let's listen to him.
Ahondepa on kasa na oya na nanom ohoyan osanda sa etwani ahwa bibi papa biara owa ahanta westa no ya ndisi aberdo na wani ana hwe what's a Hunter West Municipal Assembly? What's a ba? No, yeah, NDC Abredo. What's a body bonso senior high technical school? What's a ba? No, yeah, NDC Abredo. And yana yawaha yandi day near to Kano Kwano. Yabatuma who they run about people. Near yet, no, NDC Abredo. Aguna Kwanta market na bredo. Yendi Sabrodo Sanko Senior High, no Yendi Sabrodo Abra Vocational Technical, no Yendi Sabrodo Princess Kwana, no worry yet, no Yendi Sabrodo. It's one chair, baby, a hunter. Maramukro Mufma, Papa Yandom, no Yendi Sabrodo. It's one chair, dear Obizabaka. Oh, electricity. Oh, electricity. Makana electricity. No. What to it? Masam not what to sin. Agwan kwataha. Honorable ata. Nabroda. What it can name whatever. No, yendi sabredo.
So that was Nana Kwesi Ajuman, the 9th lower disco Omahene. So Nana Kwesi Ajuman, the 9th is the Omahene of lower disco. Now, when he spoke, I could feel that either he was angry or he wanted to speak the truth and wanted Ghanaians to understand that, yes, chiefs must not do politics, but you can't hide the truth. I noticed that people are into small-scale mining, and the summary is that chiefs, like ordinary people, are harboring some bitterness. When we went to the gold mining areas and then the cocoa growing areas, the former president equally spoke. But Ghanaians will say, going into 2020 elections, it's not about complaint. It's about what you will do for the people. Let me start with you, Auntie Joyce. What is the NDC actually promising to do for the people, and not just about rhetorics or complaints from those who come around you?
The NDC promises a better future for the good people of Ghana. As a social democratic party, it is in our interest that social amenities, social facilities that improve upon the lives of people are extended to everyone, not just a few. That each and every Ghanaian life is indeed important and matters to the NDC. I'm sure you heard the chief speak about electricity. It was under the PNDC and NDC administrations that electricity was extended to rural Ghana, even specifically the then northern regions of Ghana. And this is across the country. President Mahama intends that by 2025, we will have access to electricity and power across the country.
But MPP will say, we are also doing it, so it's nothing new. Every government will extend electricity.
I am sure you've listened to all of the individuals we have engaged and met as we moved along. Specifically when we went to Honorable Felix Ofosu-Boakye's constituency, where we stood to address the chiefs, right across that place, the people have no power. And then the MPP has been in government for 4 years. Nothing has been done. The cocoa roads that were started by the visionary Mahama administration were conceived of at a time when Ghana had achieved between 2012 and 2016 cocoa season the largest tonnage in the history of this country. They decided that they would improve upon access by way of roads across the country, specifically in producing areas. What happened when the MPP came into that? President Mahama promises a better future where roads and access roads to cocoa farming areas will be in better shape. You have seen them, you've traveled upon them, so you know that in the last 4 years, little has been done to extend the access to cocoa areas by way of roads. And it is from the Boahafo region to the western region and parts of the central region. We went past the Adamus mining in particular, where you saw the vestiges of the past attempt to improve access to the roads. You've seen government's poor attempt, maybe just to whitewash the fact that they've done absolutely nothing and create the impression that they are working to improve upon access to these roads. But you know that Mahama promised, and you know that he will deliver. And I'm sure you listen to all of these opinion leaders as we move along. Imagine that the MPP had indeed taken up its mantle of promises and delivered even on the one for all of these communities we've traveled across. That the investigations into cocoa roads that were cancelled, huge sums of money used to pay auditors for that facility, that these monies had been put into construction of those roads, we would at least have made some progress. You do know also that the CHIPS compounds that were extended to communities such as Asenkregua are the lifeline of all of the people who require health, access to health. And indeed, if we extend these interventions, the good people of Ghana will be better off. A healthy nation is also a healthy people. So any political party that takes the health of its people seriously is a serious political party and must be given the nod by the good people of Ghana. Any country that takes, and not that I'm a People's Manifesto, and I would entreat everybody, all of the sectors, even within the informal sector, to apprise themselves of the content of the People's Manifesto. It promises pensions to organize groups within the informal sector, including cocoa farmers, including cashew farmers, including fishers and fishmongers. These are key value chain areas that require attention, and we want to emphasize there will be special attention on these special groups: dressmakers association, fisheries association, cocoa farming areas, cocoa producing areas. In fact, even by way of tax incentives, it is why we are introducing the export reduction tax to encourage that there's more money to serve the value chain in terms of these areas. The Gold Board promises a phenomenal change in how reforms are handled within the gold mining sector. And of course, we are one of the key seats of Ghana when it comes to gold production. It is the Western region. And you saw activities in all the mining communities as we drove along. These are areas that require roads, they require energy by way of power, access to electricity. This is the only way that costs can be reduced in terms of their operational costs and of course their facilities. It also means then that when we extend these tax holidays, it would open up opportunities for them to engage people to work.
I've seen flies.
Remember that we've seen flies even on small scale miners And you heard them yesterday specifically speak to the fact that that whole process that the NDC started and was facilitating to license them, to train them in environmentally friendly ways of fishing. Remember that ways of mining, even in the fishes sector, we are going to encourage sustainable fishing. Remember that pollution is affecting the marine environment. It is important that we introduce sustainable ways of fishing, sustainable ways of mining, so that we reduce the effect and impact on the mining communities, especially because of climate change and damages that are caused by wrong environmental practices over the years. And Auntie Sherry is here. And you know, I regard this woman highly. I hold her in very high esteem because she is a depth of knowledge. You tap into Auntie Sherry's experiences and you are tapping into the soul of Ghanaians and what Ghana requires.
The rest of the day,
oh yes,
keep sharing with me how passionate you are about the need to focus on voting for the right candidate. But Auntie Sherry, I've seen flyers which has made reference to people are enjoying free electricity, free water. I've heard ordinary people say, for you as a veteran politician who has been in key positions in government over the period, what would you share with those who have that mentality that I won't vote again? Is it an issue of interest that they must rethink?
I think it's a matter of education, to let them understand that politics, it's about your life, and voting is about a choice, that you need always to vote for the right person, to bring a change into your life and into your society. So this, this kind of feeling, it's natural. That is why the former president is going round. This time he's not doing big rallies. The campaign is what we call the retail campaign, engaging the people face to face. And this kind of contact, it makes you change your perception about the politics, about the leadership, because the government in power is coming to with flyers and all kind of everybody has a right to electricity, and then we say water is for life. And if you look at the Western region, it's sad that the wealth of our economy comes from this region. Oil now, cocoa, gold, and then the fishing industry. So it means that at least when it comes to equitable distribution of wealth, they must have their share.
So in your opinion, access is important and not the freebies, which does not look at ensuring that the people get access.
And it's a constitutional right.
But anyway, in communities where they don't have at all, how does this free thing affect you? Tell me. If you are, for example, in honorable place of AAK, where you don't have access to electricity, what is free electricity to you?
Yeah.
So you obviously don't have it, so you don't receive a light bill anyway.
No, it's even me now.
Yes.
Good. My water for 3 to 4 weeks, the tap doesn't run.
Absolutely.
Let me hear what other people.
So even if it's free, how does that affect Auntie Sherry's life and many others?
Yes. Even we in the city.
This message is from somebody. It's called Frank Affiliate. He says, good morning, my brothers and sisters. Thank you for all your information and keep doing a good job for John Mahama. We are missing him in Ghana and we hope that he will win. From Tema, Community 22. And he says, amen and amen. This one only said hi, no other additional information. Eric, good morning. And God has already spoken. And we need a little hard work. And JDM will be on the seat from Adom Sounds in Cape Coast. This text message says, Lucky. The message is okay. This a totally different message, not related to this conversation. Please, I want you to inform former president that you should look at the branch leaders. Please, by the grace of God, John Dramani Mahama will win the 2020 elections. It didn't come with a name. It says, good morning to you, Mr. Host, and your panel. I am very appreciative of your invitation of Auntie Sherry Aite to this conversation. She has made us proud. Joyce Bawa Muktari is always a charm. This other message says, good morning to you, Mr. Host, and your panel for the good work. People Manifesto all the way. Alenya Francis Asankra Oda Amenfi West Municipal Western Region Asankra Gwa. It looks like the typo was a problem here, but I managed to understand what you sent. I'm told the time is up. Let me read two more messages. This one says, Al Hassan Seze Zenu Central. John Mahama is winning the upcoming elections come December 7, 2020, inshallah. And then the last one says, good morning to you guys. You are doing great, but please, where can I watch Wezo TV? Just call me after this show. I will tell you where. And this message came from Tewia from Teshi. Joyce, Ghanaians are watching you. This platform is huge. What would you share with them in 30 seconds?
Well, thank you very much to the good people of Ghana. Thank you to the John Mahama campaign and team. Thank you to the National Democratic Congress and all of our teaming supporters and foot soldiers. On a morning such as this, we greet you and bring you felicitations from the capital of the Western region, Takoradi. We have a People's Manifesto, a manifesto that speaks largely to the needs of the good people of Ghana. The people themselves told the National Democratic Congress what they want and what they expect. I believe that to fulfill all these aspirations and dreams, vote for the NDC, vote for John Mahama.
Thank you.
For women and our causes, look at the level of achievement of Professor Nana Jane Epoku-Agyeman, who doubles as second on this ticket, and for the future of a great woman and for great women and for the future of all females who have great aspirations, such as those who look up to Auntie Sherry Aite, like myself.
So now, let me just
vote for the NDC.
Auntie Sherry, any word, 30 seconds, very brief.
Yeah, 30 seconds. I realize that we are not talking about corruption, and then there's so much information how, huge sums of money drifting into family hands and other people. And I think if we want to solve, poverty, then in a next NDC government, we will ensure that we will investigate to make sure that monies that cannot be accounted for. I mean, if you take the $12 million on the PDS, this is absurd. And I think that one of the things that I will also look at is to make sure that all these monies, we will find them, and then we use these monies to provide better health system, electricity, water, roads for the people of Ghana, because this is the people's manifesto, and it is the people's money.
Thank you. Auntie Sherry Aite is a former minister for the fisheries sector. Joyce Bawa Muktari is also a spokesperson for former President John Dramani Mahama, NDC 2020 candidate. Thanks to the production team, and again thanks to Hillcrest Hotel. We are so grateful, and the hospitality has been great. My name is Ahianyo. See you again later in the day with more updates on Wezo TV.